My name's Zach. I'm 17 years old.
Hi, I'm Alan Jeanette. I'm originally from Edgerton, and I currently reside in Janesville, and I'm 33 years old. Just getting let me out of this demographic.
I'm Andrea Levine. I'm from Iowa originally, currently living in Beloit. I'm 27.
I'm Michaela Creekmore. I'm from Janesville, and technically Milton, actually. So I've lived in Tennessee and Milwaukee and some other places that I live back here now. So, and 27.
So, we wanted to have a bunch of people here come tonight for an issue. The main objective was to have like issues that are important to us. And I kind of wanted to, at least for my portion of my presentation, was to bring that all together and what young people can do about that from all the issues that matter to them. But I will say a few things, and a few issues that are important to me is raising the minimum wage as a concept. I know there's been a lot of talk, especially lately, with a certain hourly rate with like $15 an hour. But I think the most important thing right now is addressing just the concept of raising the minimum wage, since it's currently around $7.75, if I'm mistaken, something like that. College and student loan debt is obviously a big thing for a lot of us that are in that age group. Also, at least for me, healthcare decisions are important to me, but a lot of people that are getting involved in the marketplace for the first time, or they're maybe still on their parents' plan, or they're going to have to make their own decisions for that, for them or their family. I also think LGBT rights are important, especially with recently with we're able to now have marriage equality. Hopefully we can get that all across the nation, but hopefully that's one of the things for that. So those are important issues to me. But mainly, from my experience as a community organizer and getting involved in spring elections, presidential elections, I'm always more of an organizer, putting things to action, not just posting something on Facebook and just saying, "Well, this is important to me," and then that's it. And then then there'd be a heated discussion from comments, and that would be basically what happens, and then nothing comes from that. I'm usually that person that calls and annoys you to go and vote, or I organize all these type of things. And so there's other things that you can do besides just annoying people to go vote on election day. For me, currently, you can get involved in local government as a citizen volunteer, like for committees. I currently serve on the Community Development Authority for the City of Janesville. That involves funding from housing and urban development. So majority of that funding comes in from there, and we actually have a budget, and we work with neighborhood and parks. I think it's the neighborhood and parks division of the City of Janesville, and we part of it goes to nonprofit organizations like Literacy Connection, ECHO. We try to address homelessness. We also through grants and loans, we also help with renovation projects, mainly in the 4th Ward. That's where most of the low-income housing is in the City of Janesville. So not every single thing gets destroyed in the City of Janesville, believe it or not. There are actually some things that we have projects that do get involved, and we try to renovate them and try to get them back up to hopefully a livable situation. Obviously, volunteering for issue-related advocacy that you're concerned and passionate about. There are numerous organizations, obviously, that you all are aware of. But for locally here, there's like the League of Women Voters of Janesville, for being their emphasis of being an informed and consistent voter in elections. And then also organizations like One Wisconsin Now, they address with student loan debt. There's Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin for women's health issues. And then there's also union organizations that do issue advocacy, AFSCME, AFL-CIO, UAW, SCIU. And then there's also, for personal leadership type trainings, there's three organizations that stand out for me. One is obviously here for the Democrat Party of Wisconsin. They have two programs, which is the Democrat Leadership Institute and the Advanced Democratic Leadership Institute, which I was happy to have gone and was given a scholarship by the membership here for both of those, which I'm entirely grateful to all of you for that opportunity. There's also Emerge Wisconsin. It's an organization that advocates women to run for office for the first time. As many of you know, Kathy Myers had gone through the program, and Nisa Wells, who just became Milton's first women's mayor. So she went through the program as well. She is an alumni of that. And another organization called Wisconsin Progress. They are an organization. Yes.
Jackie Gackstetter graduated.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. I just remember that.
It's okay.
Thank you.
She
Thank you,
replaced
Elder.
me. She replaced me, so.
Yeah, yes, she did.
She just won her
And
election.
that's right. And she won her election as well. And then also, finally, to wrap up for leadership type trainings, is an organization called Wisconsin Progress. They are a organization that is part of building the bench, and especially in spring elections, to help progressive-minded people get involved in spring elections. And they help with trainings. They help with everything. They help you with messaging. They help you getting to knock on doors. They help you to get for fundraising and all the type of stuff for any level of political experience. They get involved in that, and so they help with all those type of things. So that is basically what I was going to talk about, but I'd like to open to anyone else who thinks that's important to them that regards the youth and people like my age. Yes, Vivian.
I'm your age. Well, I hope Austin.
In part.
I do.
Okay.
And then I'd just like to hear from each of you, if you had to name the single most important issue to you. If you don't want to, I know we have a visitor here, so we probably.
And she's
But
thrown her into the
each of the five of you could just make a one-sentence statement on your single most important issue, if you have one. You don't have to say anything. You're looking at me with horror on your face. Zach is always on my left. Is a dangerous place.
Yeah, I would mostly say the issue I would say is the tax cuts, for the UW system, because they said part of it will be they'll cut schools, will make the class size more bigger, which for mine, I don't really like large classes for one room, so that could probably be a problem.
Yeah.
Alan, one single important issue?
One single. I only have one single one.
The top of your list.
The top of my list. I guess healthcare is important to me. I mean, I know I'm kind of a different in the sense of having a chronic illness, but it is important to me on how Medicare and Medicaid are being taken care of, and how they're going to be out, everything being covered and things like that. So.
It's hard to pick one thing. I would say, just off the top of my head, something that's really dear to my heart in terms of something I'd like to see change is transportation. I got to study abroad for a year in Vienna, Austria, and see how amazing mass transit and the ability to walk places is. And ever since I got back, it is so hard for me to drive everywhere, to see all this just giant space that we could bring our communities together, we could help people who are maybe struggling with finances, so that instead of having to spend all of their money just to have transportation to work, they would have other options. I feel like it would just have so many positive impacts.
Great.
I guess for me would be employment opportunity in general. Just having gone to a university that, I was great, I worked really hard, did everything I was supposed to do, went away to school, came back, and tried for a year to find a job, and I could not at all. And I had to end up going, now I'm in grad school to get a job, and I think it's a shame that you can't come out of college and find a job. So that's on the top of my list, and also like healthcare. Also, while I don't have a chronic illness, I can't have my parents' healthcare because they have private healthcare. So there was a period of time where I had to go to Planned Parenthood. That was the only thing I could afford to do, and I'm a middle class person and will be a middle class person, you know, as I get older and graduate from graduate school and get back to the community. So that was a tough part in my life, and I can't imagine, I mean, just healthcare in general for people as well.
I agree with all of these, and it's exceedingly difficult to choose one, but I gotta say, to add to Alan's and yours is with healthcare, I love Obamacare, and just protecting that for the future. It's such an amazing program, so I love it. But I think I think something else on a federal level that I don't think gets as much discussion as it should is how we're just bogged down in the Middle East, and just how we've become such a state focused on war. And I don't think we can do that. I think the military-industrial complex has way too much power. We have to work to wean ourselves off of that. And I am unabashedly a Dove, and I think we need to pursue more dovish policies. We can't be intervening everywhere.
Other people, questions, comments that you'd like?
Yes.
I just wanted to know what you think about your peers, and how do you get your peers to come to the Democratic Party meetings in Rock County?
Really? No. You know, that's an interesting thing, and I'm still trying to work on that. That's a work in progress. I think whenever I have conversations with people with a lot of my friends, they respect how I pay attention, but they don't want to they think that still takes a lot of time. And I tell them it doesn't have to take as long as you think it does. Or, you know, and when I said like last meeting, as much as, you know, I love all of you, you know, a lot of these meetings are more administrative, and that doesn't really appeal to many people. So it's more, you have to do more event type things, and more, so that's still kind of a process of figuring all that out. Or the most interested I'll get from a person is presidential elections, you know, and that now with just the recent announcements, I'll get, you know, people telling me about like, I don't like anybody right now. It's like, yeah, I know you don't, I can understand that. So, I mean, it's usually what it is, and I'm just like, okay, that's how you feel about it. I knew that from most of the friends that I talked to about it. I knew that from the get-go anyway, so I'm not gonna push too hard. I mean, other than, you know, if they want to talk more about it. So that's how I feel, that's how it's been my experience, but
I feel like young people are exhausted. I mean, we are going to school, we're paying off these crazy loans,
yeah.
we're working our butts off just to, I mean, I don't even have my own place to live yet, and like I said, I've done everything right, went to college, going to graduate school, 27, and I've never been able to afford to live on my own financially independently. So if you add on to that, the fact that there's things that I want to do socially, and then, you know, things I care about outside, like the Democratic Party. I mean, I'm exhausted by the time this stuff comes around, and so me showing up is like a lot for me.
Wait till you get our age. I think she's more tired.
But I'm saying, I think young people have different stresses than maybe you had when you were our age, and I feel like, you know, college is more expensive, loans are higher. I mean, there are a lot of things that are more stressful for people my age and my, you know, time and stuff. And so, I think that's a big reason. So I don't know how we are gonna.
I want to add to that. I don't know. Of course, I didn't live when you guys were growing up, but one thing I've noticed is that people my age, we scatter. You know, we go where the jobs are, or we studied abroad, and then we want to live somewhere else. And so one of the things I struggle with is I don't have a support structure, and it's really hard to meet people my own age in the area. Most of the people our age moved to the big cities. So just not having the friends I grew up with around and not knowing where to meet those supportive people is something that I struggle with.
And I think to add with that, it's also certainly different. What I say about like with this is that there's kind of a disconnect of like a Madison youth person and a Rock County youth person for like what their schedules are. And so, and a lot of us are more like, that's just how we are in Rock County. We're more working class. We have, like even for any student or college student in Rock County, they go to school and then they end up going to work. Like they go there, those places are separate. They have like a pretty decent sized distance of going, unless you live in Janesville and then you can just maybe drive to Rock County, UW Rock County or Blackhawk, and then you're going somewhere else for your job. Whereas if you're in a big city, it's a lot more convenient, or it's more likely that your job and your school places are closer. So, and they're more flexible and everything is basically there. Whereas a lot more things that are in Rock County, they're a little bit more spread out, and it's kind of more, at least for most of us, it's like an effort to, there's more of that.
I live in Beloit, and I've been trying to come up with, okay, where can I get involved? Where do I want to volunteer? And I look in Janesville, and I look in Rockford, and I look in Beloit, and I'm like, well, what if I get one in Janesville and one in Rockford, and then I get exhausted because I'm driving all over the place? That's definitely a problem.
Austin, did you have?
Yeah, I wanted to add to what you said, Vivian, and to what you said, Michaela. I mean, the economy of today is vastly different than the economy of 1970, 1980, when you could just come out of high school and there were industrial jobs and things like that, and with better wages. And now a lot of employment opportunities, they're further and farther between. And when you do get a job, they often expect a lot more than just the hours that you're at the office. They expect you to be working outside. Although they say they don't want you to be, you're supposed to be, basically. You better answer those emails, you better reply. So it just leads to greater time constraints, and it leads to decisions and choices. And so the apathetic young adult is kind of a difficult creature to lure in. You kind of have to give them something a little bit more, I think, to entice them, a more social situation. More inviting, and it's kind of like once there's more young adults there, then it's kind of a conundrum, because once you have more, then more will come because they feel comfortable, and sometimes they can be maybe intimidated by when they see a room full of people that have been there for a while. Even though everyone's very friendly, you can also it's always intimidating to enter into a new group, so to speak. So I think those are some of the challenges. And then obviously apathy, kind of as Alan touched in non-presidential years, it's we got to give them a reason to buy in, and Governor Walker's given us plenty of reasons to get people fired up. So
Anyone can comment on this, but Austin just ran a great campaign for Senate and had that engaged a lot of young people. And I participated in the Wisconsin Progress meetings that work on recruiting candidates and supporting them. And 3/4 of the people in those meetings are there to help people with their campaigns. I didn't know if you have comments about how you went about getting supporters, how you went about involving young people. Well, you had a young campaign.
Well, it's about issues and getting people fired up and being different. I think people were excited that we had something different. I think we have too much in the establishment, and it's time to roll over to new people that have different perspectives. I mean, I think something we talked about in the beginning was, or that Alan mentioned in the beginning was LGBT rights, and that took for I'll just speak for my parents generation. It took them, for us, it's a no-brainer. It's something that when I hear people debating it, I kind of get confused and just think, why do we even need to talk about people being equal? They're equal, so there's a different mindset. Older generations had to come around to it, and that's what the poll numbers showed. And then eventually they kind of said, well, these are just people too, and equality shouldn't be debated. So I think it's a different mindset, and I think people of folks of our generation, maybe they kind of latched onto that. It's about latching on to somebody you believe in, and being able to get them fired up, and being respectful, and giving them the opportunity to participate, and being open with them. I guess I don't know.
Okay. One thing I worry about is that I have 3+ grandsons, and I'm worried that they don't appreciate right now. Well, one's in college, but the rest are high school, middle school. they don't appreciate the fact that what's happening in politics, and maybe it's, you know, beyond their realm of knowledge, but that how much it's going to affect their lives when they grow up. And so I'm thinking of Social Security too. It might not be there when you're there, you know?